In fact, the process of facing someone's death, it differs too much from one person to another. There are people who start organizing mourning after the evento. We were even talking about this story of the accident, right? Why is it so suffering for these family members to face this situation? Because there is no burial. When you stay in this painful wait, right? Because you don't have that. The ritual of death helps us to live the process of mourning. That's why it's important. Many times I remember when we were a child and some relative of us died and wouldn't let the children look at the dead. But even that is important. We need to have contact with this hard and raw reality so that we can start organizing the mourning process. Because losing is not easy. Seeing the other left of our lives is not easy. In this case of the plane crash, they do not have this realization of death, right? It receives news, but it is forever in the head, because there was no process of burial, goodbye, that thing that is so natural in the human process. I don't really like it. No, I think it's very painful. The wake is an extremely exhausting family thing, but it is very necessary for many people. Often a good therapy helps us. My people. I think when the loss process is very painful, we need to seek help. You need to seek help because we don't always be able to win our fierce alone, right? And I have seen it and have been through my life so many people who face this hard process of losing. Everyone loses, but in the lives of some people, this loss is even more tragic. It is one thing for you to lose your mother after living many, many years old, when she was already old, and when she had already experienced her life and her part. So it's different that you say goodbye to a person who got sick, who was living the process of dying naturally, than you have a person like that boy in the accident, who lost their parents, who were going to take a vacation trip. This is very painful. Remove very dramatically in someone's life. It is one thing to live the process of each other's illness, and you get used to it. It is you to build within you the absence later. Even so, it is still painful. But it's worse when you have this abrupt rupture. When the person left, okay. Close the door and suddenly you get the news that it no longer exists. So whenever we go through these situations, we need to seek help, and sometimes we can't get over it. We need to live a therapeutic process that helps us replace things in place. I particularly think, my people, that the more we seek soon after death, right after the loss, starting life and giving themselves to things. I know it's always difficult, but the more we strive for you as being able to return to life to normal, the greater our ability to overcome. It is not that we will stop loving the person. It is not that they will forget it. It is not that we will forget it, but we will put life in place. It's like putting life on tracks, right? The train derailed. The moment of death is as if the train had derated. But then we start to rearrange, put things in place, and let's go. The other day, I had the opportunity to talk there in Curitiba with a lady who lost her son on New Year's Eve night, there in Ponta del Este. He went to spend New Year's Eve with his friends and he was run over, and she was telling me that she had difficulty moving his room. So the room was all ready, as if he were going back. And I found it interesting because in the pain report of that lady, she had difficulty smiling again. She had difficulty making the food the boy liked. And that, for example, the family had a tradition of making the barbecue every Sunday family. She never allowed the barbecue to be made because it is a way of preserving the child. It is as if she was wanting to say that, not making the barbecue, we demonstrate our sadness. It is as if the joy of reunion could be an affront to the death of the son, because this is a way we have to safeguard the person, right? It's as if we said to ourselves, 2, will never be happy in honor of you again. I will preserve your memory. Yes, keeping my sadness. This is very unfair, right? Because I'm sure if the other one had the power to tell us something, because I don't believe it, it may be believed. I don't. If I had the power to communicate with the dead, which I would hear from a person who loves me and who sees me suffering, I can only imagine that this person will tell me, Fabio, go live. right? If I could listen to my sister, for example, my sister who died so young was so full of life. If I had the opportunity to hear something from her at the moment of that whole tragedy, that we were all torn by pain, I had her my sister was going to talk like this. Fabio, go there. We'll live your life. We'll be happy. We'll take care of my mother. For me. Because if she was here, she would do the same. But when we try to preserve the memory of the other suffering, we are delighted doubly. Because we think that if I suffer the absence of the other and do not refer my life to a solution, I am being faithful to the one who died. No, guys, it's the opposite. We need to understand that the absence of the other has to illuminate us and reveal us to what we can do good today, to what we can live. And there, in the case of that lady, she no longer moved her son's room. Then she tried to preserve her son, but tried to preserve in a wrong way, with all due respect to the pain she feels. And I said that to her. You gradually have to have the courage to open that wardrobe. You will have to have the courage to touch those clothes. You will have to have the courage to do with them. Keeping your child's intact wardrobe does not bring him back, but it's a morbid way for you to keep suffering. I remember that one of the most painful moments of my sister's death to my mother. Of course, seeing the daughter arrive dead from an accident is very sad. But I remember a few days later, my sister lived in Belo Horizonte. My mother had to go to Belo Horizonte, open the apartment where she lived and move her things. My sister had traveled. I didn't know I wouldn't go back, and suddenly someone had to go there. Find things, vacate the apartment, take the clothes, take things. Her belonging. Now you can imagine, a woman. My mother, I remember, right? And we had no courage, and she went. And I remember that it was one of the most beautiful reports I heard from my mother. So when she started opening the wardrobe and picking each piece of clothing and putting in the suitcase, and then reaching my house with those bags, with those things, she found my sister's tickets, preached in the refrigerator, like this. Thing who doesn't know they won't come back, right? And how much this must have been sharp to my mother. How much this must have been painful, right? But my mother surpassed. It surpassed because she did the thing at the right time, right? Have you ever wondered if this apartment was preserved to this day? If we still had this weight inside our hearts, we have to go there to remove things from Heloisa. If we had continued to postpone this moment, how would we do it? The pain lasts, right? Unlike you to suffer everything you have to suffer and start living the resurrection process. So I go there. I face the situation. But then somehow I start to heal the wound. I can't just put a bandage-zinho on an infected wound. I have to cure the infection. And many times, if I keep the dead environment intact, I end up putting a band-aid over an infected wound. And this room can have life again, isn't it? I can't make that haunted fourth place of my life. My house. I'm not saying of haunting spirit. No. I'm saying the sad meaning he has home. Because he is infecting everyone. Sometimes her mother, in an attempt to safeguard her child's memory, she ends up harming the whole family. She ends up holding to the pain she feels, and doesn't look at the children who stayed. Doesn't look at her husband. Doesn't look at her father she still has. So by not solving her son's grief, she ends up spreading the suffering all over the house. And this is very disastrous. Because then we keep dying. We don't overcome. And sometimes this moment of struggle and pain, it is very important that we look at him like this. I have no way to bring my son back. But so, I will do the least I can do today. And it has to be a little bit every day. We can't violate either. I said that to that lady. I said, look, respect your time of sadness. Just be aware that this time is not a lifetime. She was a dynamic woman. Worked. I said, go back to work. Gradually. It doesn't have to be all day, but get out of the lady's house. Although it is to stay, they have a bookstore there in Curitiba. Skirt to stay a little in the bookstore. Give it to your heart this opportunity to begin to overcome the death of your boy. And the moment I drew a smile from her was him. He was a happy boy, and she smiled. The priest, very happy. A boy that no one had, he didn't have a bad time with him. I said, ready. It starts from IT. Do you think the lady's son is happy to know that you are immersed in a depression because of his death? It can't be like that. Guys, it's too hard. I know it's hard. It is very sad that we have to live with these ruptures, but we have nothing to do. We can't change life. Now, what can we do to make this moment more bearable? Something has been, something we have left. It was not withdrawn everything. Then the old story of the beginning of the program, we have to be a warrior, and we have to be a boy. Show fragility. Be simple in the way of dealing with what they suffer, the feeling they have. But we also need to have this courage to wield the weapons we have left, so we can win the battle. Because otherwise, we will be suffocated by the moment. And sometimes the suffocation of the moment in this acute pain that we often live and we face, we end up losing the wisdom of how to continue life. And that is what we always need to have before us.